So when people came to America, they could own land. And the founding fathers could never have conceptualized, apps and social media. So how did we get, well, really we had land. And on top of land, which is like the base layer of Bitcoin, people built farming. People built shops, built real estate.
Bitcoin mining is the process by which Bitcoin transactions are validated digitally on the Bitcoin network and added to the blockchain ledger. It is estimated that Bitcoin consumes electricity at an annualized rate of 127 terawatt-hours. That's a huge sum of energy. Despite knowing all the facts and figures, Gideon Powell, the CEO and chairman of Cholla Petroleum, believes that Bitcoin mining is the future of the world. In his latest interview with Anthony Pompilano, he has discussed the old American civilization and how people purchased lands and built homes on it. The same is happening in this century where people are buying assets like Bitcoin and building their businesses over it. Watch this complete interview to know what he actually believes about the future of Bitcoin. Before moving ahead, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and don't forget to share it with your friends.
So if you wanted to innovate in the power sector or in the energy business, you needed to be independently wealthy with billions of dollars, or you needed to work at a massive corporation. You're going to work at that company for 10, 20 years. And, once you control the purse strings, you're probably not going to innovate near as much. So what Bitcoin mining did is you leverage several principles, which is, bottom-up solutions and skin in the game, permissionless innovation. So anybody globally now can be an energy entrepreneur. I mean, literally, you can have, there are no barriers to entry. You can rub 2 nickels, and if you can plug in an ASIC, you can innovate. So we are all thrown out. I mean, I remember 3 years ago, we were like, okay, what's some of the best, from a first principles standpoint, what's the lowest cost energy? Okay, it's waves. Okay, well, the biggest, most consistent waves are in the middle of nowhere. Sweet, let's take the Bitcoin mining there. And then really there's all these engineering tech, and this is what we were studying 5 years ago, was there's these engineering technologies that are in energy or energy technologies, but they're engineering successes, but they're not economic successes. And so what Bitcoin mining does is it gives anybody a line of sight to profitability. And so really, I like the App Store. Before the App Store, if you want to innovate in software, you needed to work at a big oligopoly or get backed by VC or something like that. What the App Store did was it democratized innovation in the software business. So all of a sudden you had a clear line of sight to profitability if you could innovate. And so the same thing with the Nakamoto of it basically just sent a private, a signal to the market and said, if you lower the cost of power, then we will give you more capital. And so really Bitcoin mining is the most beautifully savage venture capital company. And it's focused on one thing and one thing only. If you lower the price of power, you get more Bitcoin. You get more resources in your success. And so we're going to see this iterative process play out for the next century, usher in a Kardashev type 1 society, but really you've democratized it. Then you get to, you spend less on your operating expenses go down, which means your profit margin goes up, which you get more capital from the Bitcoin network through the algorithm that releases blocks every 10 minutes. So you get more resources. And so if you have A over here that can get power to 5 cents and B over here, which innovates and gets power down to 2 cents, well, B is going to get more profit and has more resources, and then we'll redeploy that. And so I think this is very early, but you're seeing it, all of us, and now we've got this great. I can literally get on my phone, and I unfortunately do this too much. Oh, well, that's a great idea. Who are the experts? Like we were looking at wave stuff 3 years ago. Oh, they're all like in Europe, in London. Okay, great. And I literally got on with 3 of the world's experts on wave turbines, just like that. And so I think not only do you have liquidity in the capital markets with Bitcoin now, you don't need to have cool relationships, communications. And so I can hop on and find experts on any idea and then, throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. Bitcoin, unless you're like a Ron Paul audit the Fed person here in America, Bitcoin is difficult to grasp. But and that was one of the greatest things. A few of us were invited to the Human Rights Freedom Forum in Oslo a few years ago, and I'd hosted dinners with my American friends. I'd hosted all these events trying to bring education, and Alex Gladstein orange-pilled a lot of people at some of the events I'd host. But it was always like, yeah, but I don't need, it was always a brick wall. But when I went to the Oslo Freedom Forum and I was like, oh, hey, here's what Bitcoin does. They're like, okay, great. How do I get that? Like they wanted it, they need it. So innovation happens on the fringe. So I think that's where, the Lightning Network and everything that's happening, the innovation isn't going to happen in America exclusively. It's going to happen where the people need it most. Bitcoin is not just a money, and I'll use the analogy when people came to America. Why did America become so powerful? Why was so much wealth created here? And I think you tie it back to property rights. So when people came to America, they could own land. And the founding fathers could never have conceptualized, apps and social media. So how did we get, well, really we had land. And on top of land, which is like the base layer of Bitcoin, people built farming. People built shops, built real estate, but then they built an LLC, a corporation. Like those are layer 1, 2, 3 on, of land. And so none of that was possible. And then the internet comes along and supercharged it. So when I think about the future of Bitcoin, to me, it's an elevation of the principles that made America great. And so it is taking, the United States Constitution and enshrining it into code to where it set a vision, and it gives more clarity and confidence to, if you create value in the Bitcoin ecosystem, it'll be mutually beneficial. So I think there's a lot of fascinating, Bitcoin's going to intertwine with all our lives in ways that we can't really conceptualize, but we'll be able to run things in a decentralized manner, on layer 2, and I'm even hearing about layer 3, that's just way over my skis.